Yes, Madam Chairperson. Ang nakukuha ko, Madam Chairperson, hindi nila makuha yung number of personnel na qualified na kailangan nila. Dahil siguro sa kulang ang nag-a-apply. At para marami ang mag-apply, dapat siguro tulungan natin sila, Madam Chairperson, na madagdagan yung kanilang budget para mapalaki nila yung retirement benefits. Dahil tulad po sa military, ang sumasali po sa pulis ay sinusugal din yung buhay nila. At hindi lang yung buhay nila, pati na rin yung kinabukasan ng kanilang pamilya, sinusugal din. At kung mawala sila sa kanilang pamilya, ay magkakaroon ng problema ang kanilang pamilya. Kaya para maka-attract sila na maraming applicant na magagaling, dapat taasan nila at tulungan natin sila na makakuha ng budget na mataasan nila ang kanilang retirement benefits, Madam Chairperson.
Okay, so I think you have to take note of that, Chief PNP and Secretary Anyo. That's a very nice recommendation. So,
And then,
more? Yes, Chief
Ma'am,
PNP.
if I may add, Madam Chair, actually po, in all cases, the number of applicants ay mas sobra po dun sa aming quota. So it so happen lang po na meron tayong standard na pinagbabasihan, kaya nakaunti lang po. Pero based on the previous year's quota namin, filled up naman po sila. Nafi-filled up sila.
But how come then, Chief PNP, that as stated by Representative Dimaporo, sabi niya medyo nagkulang?
Ma'am, actually ma'am, yung po kasing sa atin po kasing quota natin, we have regular quota, pero hindi man natin ma-program din itong maraming cause of attrition. Like for example, marami nag-optional retirement, merong iba naman na di-dismiss the service for several reasons, may offense, may mga cases po sa kanila. So, but just the same, ay given the fund for our recruitment, ay we can always continue processing and recruiting them.
Okay, sa lahat ba ng area, in all regions?
Yes, ma'am.
Talagang maraming applicants? We have a lot of applicants?
Yeah, all throughout the Philippines, meron ma'am talaga. Pero meron
Also
talaga ibang mga...
Also consider the recommendation
Yes, opo.
of Representative Dimaporo.
Yes, ma'am. We will do that,
Okay.
ma'am. Thank you.
Representative Dimaporo.
yes, Madam Chairperson, tama po yun, qualification ang kulang. I have a second concern, Madam Chairperson.
Go ahead, Congressman.
My second concern is that we all want peace, continuous peace in our respective places. And in Lanao del Norte, there was a mayor of one of our municipalities that was killed in Iligan City. And then until now, because I asked them not to retaliate, and I asked them to take up the problem in the Court of Justice, and they did. At hanggang ngayon, nagkukorte pa rin sila. Ang gusto ko itanong sa Philippine National Police ay kung yon ay pinatay siya sa Iligan City, which is outside of the province of Lanao del Norte, hindi nila magamit yung police sa Lanao del Norte. At aywan ko kung magagamit rin nila yung police sa Iligan City dahil taga Lanao del Norte sila. Yung investigation ang nagkulang, Madam Chairperson. Matagal na ito, pangalaw na ito na nireklamo ko ito, mga ilang taon ang nanireklamo ko ito, na tumulong ang pulis na makita kung sino talaga ang nagpatay. Dahil yung ebidensya nila na nakita nila na pumatay sa kasama nila, kasi may kasama ang mayor at that time sa kutsi niya, siya nagde-drive. Mayroon silang parang naisip na maaring kung sino ang pumatay, naisip nila na yung kalaban nila sa politika in the same municipality. Pero tagalabas ang pumatay. at ayaw kong sabihin ang probinsya, pero dapat ito ay hanapin ng pulis at nang hindi naman patayin yung incumbent na mayor na baka hindi naman siya ang pumatay. Ganyan po ang kultura sa amin. Kung mamatay, papatay rin. And I was able to convince them to go to the Court of Justice. But for more than 3 years, wala hong nangyayari. At hiningi ko po sa pulis na instead of providing policemen na parang tatlo pa ang daming pulis, tatlong sasakyan ang sumusunod sa kanya kahit saan pumunta sa probinsya at saka sa Iligan City, instead na wasting the time of the police guarding the mayor, gamitin naman nila yung oras din nila sa pag-investigate kung sino talaga ang pumatay so that they can win in court at matapos na ito, Madam Chairperson.
Okay, so I think your time is up, Congressman Dimaporo. So may we get an answer from
Yes,
the
Madam Chair, we
TPNP?
will check on this, ma'am. Even though magkaibang probinsya po ito, pero ang pulis man po can always coordinate. And of course, since nangyari yung krimen sa Iligan City, di yung pulis po nila ang tututok dito, but Lanao del Norte will assist them. Both of them are under PRO 10, so we'll see to it, ma'am, that the regional director will check on this, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Thank you, General Ilyasar.
Can you just give an update later on to Representative
Yes,
Dimaporo?
ma'am. Opo, we will, ma'am.
General. Okay,
you po.
thank you. So the next to be recognized is the Honorable Janet Garin. Is the Honorable Janet Garin with us?
Unstable daw ang internet niya.
Okay, so the internet is unstable. So may we go to the next? It's Representative Shari Antan. Is Representative Shari Antan around? Are you in Zoom?
Yes po, Madam Chair.
You are not-
Good afternoon.
Congressman.
Good afternoon, Madam.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to Secretary Anyo, Chief PNP, Rizar. I would like to thank the DILG's support for the provincial government of Samar, particularly in the 2nd District, of all our programs, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. Sobra yung suporta sa atin ng mga MLGOOs natin. And with the LCAC programs here in the province, together with the anti-drugs and substance abuse campaign na ginagawa rin natin sa probinsya. I will just go directly, Madam Chair, to my request sana to regarding the PNP DPWH convergence programs or the TICAS PNP. We would like to ask the PNP if we can still have the fundings, kasi nakita ho namin na other districts, they have fundings for the construction of the stations, different stations, police stations in their respective municipalities. But in the 2nd District, wala ho tayong nakita sa NEP na nasali po dun sa construction ng mga police stations. We have, I requested po sana ng construction ng Yabong, the Samar SPPO na construction din kasi medyo dilapidated na ho yung buildings ng Samar PPO. And we also have yung mga other amenities or the facility intended for the Samar PPO. So magtatanong lang sana ako if still i-consider po ba ng DILG or ng PNP yung 2nd District kasi yung iba ho nabigyan ho. And then I would like to ask, yung second question ko, isasabay ko na lang po, Madam Chair, to DILG, if there's still Salin Tubig program under DILG because we still have municipalities na nangangailangan po ng water system, particularly in the Shera Island in Catbalogan City. So yun lang ho, Madam Chair.
Okay, may we get an answer from the PNP,
Yes, ma'am.
particularly the
Yes, Madam Chair. Ma'am, for the proposed construction of police station in 2022, kasama po dun sa 53 police station itong Yabong MPS in Yabong, Samar. Opo, nakasama po siya. Ito yung amount na 6,485,000.
Madam Chair, Chief, I would like to ask yung sa Samar PPO po, kasali po din ba natin? Kasi super dilapidated na rin po yung lugar nila. I would like to thank Madam Chair to our Chief PNP, Sir Eleazar, for being positive to our request regarding the change of the provincial director. Nandito na ho si General yung PD po na bago. Si Colonel. Opo.
Okay, I think it would be just better for the PNP to get in touch with Representative Shari Antan with regards to all those she mentioned, the construction of PNP building, etc., etc. But I think, as you mentioned, there's already one that has been proposed for 2022, and the other one, just get in touch with them. And as to the, would you like to?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, regarding po dun sa Samar PPO na nabanggit po ni Congresswoman, yung po kasi sa ating 53 ay puro mga police station lang. Pero nag-recommend din po kami para po dun sa fiscal year 2022, yung pong sinasabi niyang PNP, DPWH convergence. So,
okay.
nirecommend din po natin and we'll just follow
kasali
it up.
ba yung tinatanong niya?
Yes, ma'am. Opo. Hindi lang po kasama dito sa budget ng PNP, pero ito po yung convergence sa TPWH. We'll just follow this up, ma'am.
Okay. So that's good. So maybe
Thank you
now,
so much.
may isa pang tanong kanina ni Representative Tan. It's all about the Salintubig ba?
Yes,
Program of
Yes.
the DI.
Maraming salamat po, Madam Chair. Unfortunately po ay nawala na sa budget yung Salintubig mula pa 2021 at ngayon pong 2022 ay wala. Pero meron pa pong LGSF na nakakahalaga ng 13 billion at ito po ay po pwedeng i-avail. Magpapadala lamang po ng request to the DBM at bibigyan din po kami ng kopya para bibigyan namin ng endorsement.
Hirap din kasi yun.
Sa-
Palakasan din dyan sa DBM.
Pero pagka nagkaroon po tayo ng endorsement, binibigyan po ng priority. Tapos yung sa devolution naman po, mas malaking ira ang matatanggap ng mga LGUs. Pwede po rin gawing project din po sa Salintubig.
Okay po. Madam Chair, thank you so much.
Kung Tan na mag-request lang daw sa DBM.
All right po.
Happy furnish the DILG dahil wala na pala the funds for Salintubig and some other, like, I don't know, as to CMGP still 2022, not anymore.
Wala na po.
Aid to municipality, wala na rin.
Wala na rin po. Pati CMGP, wala na rin po.
Wala na. But for public markets,
Ang pinakahuli po itong insertion ng budget for 2020.
what do you mean when you say
Ay,
insertion, Secretary?
Ano po yun eh?
Insertion na politiko or what?
Sa Bicam po yun.
Okay.
At para po mabigyan markets and public yung mga
And I think even municipal town halls, di ba? Kasama ba yan?
Wala po, iba po yung budget
wala.
sa municipal town halls po.
Okay,
Sa
so wala na pala tayong Salintubig, Congressman Shari Antan. So, but yung sa LGSF, of course, there's a menu for this. Yun. Pero
Yes,
you
po.
have to ask DBM. And you just have to participate. Office
Okay.
of Secretary.
Yeah, okay po, Madam Chair. Thank you so much. Secretary, thank you so much. We will just send a copy of our request for LGSF since usually po pag may LGSF, nag-allocate din ho kami ng funding coming from the municipality and the province as our counterpart. Hindi nga lang talaga kinakaya yung sufficient yung fund namin kaya nakakatulong din ho. Nung time na yon yung Salintubig Fund ng DILG. Thank you so much, and to Chief PNP Eleazar, thank you so much for the positive news about the the construction of the police station in Yabong. Hopefully we can push po dun sa SPPO kasi sobrang kailangan din talaga nila. And I think sila na lang po yung medyo hindi pa tamang yung ano talaga, parang tamang requirement na nakapaloob talaga sa standard yung sa Samar PPO. So I hope we can push that. And lastly lang ho, we would like to request Chief PNP, last na po, Chair. We would like to request the Chief PNP if we can have additional manpower for the PNP personnel. Kasi like in Catbalogan City, usually ho 100 plus yung kailangan na manpower, but then we only have 80. And it's the same with the rest of the municipalities. Kulang ho kami ng mga personnel sa mga istasyon. So sana ho mabigyan ho kami ng additional manpower.
Note of that, Chief PNP. I know that nationwide that's a problem.
Yes, Madam
Hindi
Chair.
natin, we're not able to meet yung ratio, no?
Yes, ma'am.
But you just have to take note of the request of Representative Tan. So I think your 5 minutes, 5 minutes is consumed already, Representative San. So thank you very much. So
Thank you so much po.
you're now recognized from the majority, Representative Hector Sanchez. Is Representative Hector Sanchez?
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair.
Okay, so you are now recognized, Congressman Hector.
Yes. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, and to our colleagues. First, I would like to congratulate and commend the good Secretary Anyu and, of course, the DILG family for the job well done. And also, I would like to express my full support to our Regional Director, Jonel Estimo of Region 5. And another one, Madam Chair, I would like to manifest that DILG must be given more budget for this calendar year, for the coming 2022, Madam Chair. My first concern, Madam Chair, under Bureau of Jail Management and Penology. First, I would like to commend the BJMP for pursuing reforms strategies, such as the e-Dalao program, which allows those confined to be able to communicate virtually with their families and legal counsel. Madam Chair, may I know if BGMP has plans to build, expand, or rehabilitate their existing facilities or infrastructures, and to upgrade the detention facilities, and to address congestion issues, Madam Chair.
I think that's always the problem. Though I think how much the DILG would like to, but because of the limited budget, no. But may we get an answer from the Secretary?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Pinatawag po natin yung ating Chief BJMP. But for the meantime po ay sa budget po ng ating Bureau of Jail Management and Penology na ang kanila pong effort ay talagang mabawasan na ang congestion rate ng ating mga PDLs by constructing more jails. And at the same time, kasama rin po ang sa plano nila ang 30 isolation areas or cells para po sa mga may sakit na PDL lalo na ngayon na meron tayong pandemic. At ang tuloy-tuloy po yung idalaw program para naman po patuloy na nakakapag-communicate yung mga PDLs with their loved ones without the risk of being infected by the COVID-19. So the others will be provided by the Chief BJMP later on. Pinatawag lang po namin Madam Chair.
Okay, so thank you very much, Secretary, and thank you, Representative Hector Sanchez.
Yes, Madam Chair, yes.
Or manifesting that more budget should be given to the Department of Interior and Local Government. But
Yes.
now, do you have other questions?
Yes,
As-
Madam Chair, because
Construction of jails and improvement? Because
Yes, ma'am.
we're still waiting for the BJMP director to be around.
yes,
Now-
Madam Chair. Yes, I think there's no reason why we cannot provide this improvement or rehabilitation of this detention facilities, because in the other branch of our DILG, which is Bureau of Fire Protection, it was mentioned by one of our colleagues, I think Congressman Sarati, that there is an excess funds of 4.49 billion, which up to now on their department, which supposed to be, this should be refund this amount, and as suggested by KUA, to return back to, I think, Treasury. But for me, as my observation, Madam Chair, I think there is an imbalance in making budgeting, because this is one maybe top priority. This is a human concern. Now, as we observe, a lot of problems, even especially this time of pandemic. How can we address the protocol like social distancing? Congestion pa lang problema ng malaki po, Madam Chairman, Madam Chair. So may we hear from the God Secretary? Baka naman pag-usapan within the department or the mother company, which is the ILG,
Okay.
on how to realign this budget, this 4.49, and bring it to the BGNP, Madam Chair.
Okay, now maybe Secretary, you take note of the observation of Representative Hector Sanchez. I know that the one mentioned by Honorable Sarate is, I think, on police vehicle and fire truck in particular. I mean the fire truck, but on jail I don't know. I think it was not mentioned. Pero Representative Hector Sanchez, because in during budget time and when we approve the budget, may kanya-kanyang budget yan eh. There's a budget for BGMP, the budget for PNP, and et cetera, Kaya, but I don't know how the good secretary would do something about this. So that's noted, Representative Hector Sanchez.
Yes, Madam Chair.
BGMP with us already?
One more.
Kasi those that shall be in the hall is limited. Representative Sanchez, kaya at times we still have to call them dun sa waiting room.
So,
So
Madam
siguro
Chair,
we'll just get in touch, Secretary.
andyan na po yung
Nandiyan na siya?
Yes po, ayan
So
po.
maybe again, but this is the last already, Representative Hector, because you only have like less than 1 minute. So pwede naman ulitin kung ano yung tanong nyo with regards to this BJMP issues.
Madam
Or-
Chair, I have one parochial concern. Only one, ma'am. Madam Chair. Yeah. Madam
So
Chair.
would you like for Representative Sanchez to repeat his manifestation? Or maybe, sige na lang, kung Sanchez, you kindly repeat what you had mentioned earlier with regards to all these structures of BGMP, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, just to shorten my observation, Madam Chair, for so long, I think this is already about a decade of continuing problem about detention facilities congestion, which is this is now we have pandemic and how we observe the protocol, social distancing, etc. But my concern is we have a surplus funds from DILG, which is 4.49 billion, and why not arrange this and transfer it to the one that most needed department, which is Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, instead of using or putting this to other services. That's only my concern, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, may I answer?
Secretary, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Una-una po, thank you very much for your suggestion. But in as much as we would like to do that, but the funds are no longer with us because it's with the PSDBM and PITC, and they're the ones doing the procurement. Now, if ever those funds will be returned to us, if ever, still, because it is part of the GAA, then we may not be allowed to realign that funds because it is within the GAA. But nevertheless, we can still use the funds to procure additional fire truck. Regarding the congestion, I'd like to give the floor to the jail director, Alan Iral.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So are we still going to, okay. Sige, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Nagpapasalamat po kami kay Congressman Hector Sanchez. At least nakita niya yung problema ng BGMP na congestion. Sa totoo lang, sir, taon-taon ang hingi po kami ng budget sa DBM para ma-expand yung ating mga facilities. Kasama na rin po dyan sa Catanduanes. Ano po? Kami sa BGMP ay willing kung pagkalooban kami ng pundo para maipatayo natin yung mga kailangan nating jail facilities. Actually, sir, kasama din po ito sa modernization plan ng Bureau, na lahat ng ating mga jail facilities sa buong Pilipinas ay mapatayuan natin ng mga jail facilities. Tungkol naman doon, sir, sa tanong mo kanina na paano natin palawakin itong idalaw kasi ngayon nga ay panahon ng pandemya, kami po sa itong 2022 budget ay nag-propose po ng procurement ng mga computers para magamit ng ating mga PDL na habang tuloy-tuloy pa rin itong pandemya ay makakausap nila yung mga mahal sa buhay sa pamamagitan ng idalaw na programa natin sa BGMP. So ginagawa po natin, sir, ang lahat para maibsan yung pangungulila ng ating mga PDL sa loob ng ating mga piitan. At kami po sa BGMP nagpapasalamat sa iyo na suportado mo ang bureau namin sa adikaing ito. Marami pong salamat.
Yeah, I know your sentiments, how much you wanted to like repair everything,
Yes.
construct jails, but yan lang naman ang ibibigay ng DBM. So the DILG cannot provide really everything. So yun
Madam
lang,
Chair,
Honorable Sanchez, I think you had
Madam
so
Chair,
much already.
Madam Chair,
Tapos na yung inyong
Just-
5 minutes.
just
So may we
one,
now move on to the next interpellator.
Chair.
Thank you,
Madam Chair,
Hector.
just only one.
Okay.
I have my parochial concern, Madam.
Kasi marami pa back to back
Yes. Sorry for that. Yeah.
The SWD at 3 o'clock
Yeah.
and it's
in my province, which is Catanduanes, sir.
Kindly
Um,
wrap up.
I have two municipalities that requesting for any service vehicle or ambulance. Director, can you please address that?
Ambulance?
Service vehicle.
Service vehicle for BJMP or?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. Okay, just please take note.
Sir, i-consider po natin.
Okay, please take note.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Kong Sanchez.
Thank
So
you.
next to interpolate is from the minority, the Honorable Representative Bonito Singson is recognized by the chair.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, Kong, please go ahead.
Magandang hapon po sa inyo, Madam Chair, and to Secretary Anyo, and to Chief PNP General Eliasar. My question refers, is related to the statement earlier, Madam Chair, that the PNP turned over about 4 billion of their funds, no, to the PITC. Is this correct, Madam Chair? No, this was stated earlier.
Yes, Kong. It was
Yes.
asked by Kong Sarate.
Yes. So, if the transfer was made, was it instructed to the PNP to turn over these funds, or did they voluntarily transfer it, and for what reason, if they did it so voluntarily? Were they instructed to transfer these funds to the PITC?
Maybe ask, I think the funds you're referring to and what Kong Sarate was also referred to earlier
Yes.
is the 2016 fund. But I don't know as to whether our secretary could give an answer to the question of the Honorable Simpson. Was it voluntary transferred by the DILG to the, what's that? The RPS DBM?
If it's he's referring, the good congressman is referring to the PNP, may I ask?
Yes,
the
PNP.
to-
Yes,
PNP.
yes,
I
ma'am.
think it's a police vehicle. And so with the fire truck, I think it's the fire truck in particular.
I think it involves the funds for the fire truck, Madam Chair. No,
Okay.
there was just a
Okay, we
statement that 4 billion was transferred to the PITC.
Right,
The question is, was this instructed or was it voluntary on their part?
okay, may we get an answer from the BFP?
Madam Chair, I will answer for the Bureau. of
Okay,
Fire
yes, please,
Protection.
Secretary.
Because I investigated this when I assumed as Secretary of DILG, and I found out that in the earlier procurement, there was a case filed against several BAP officials who did the bidding sometimes 2013, 2014. And because of that, the secretary then of the ILG ordered the department, particularly the BAP, to have the bidding conducted by the procuring entity of the government in order to avoid those kind of anomalies. But the problem is the PITC and the PSDBM were so much overloaded because they're catering to all the government agencies. Hence, there was the delay in the procurement and the so-called parking of funds. That is why in 2018, I gave order also a memo to the BAP that starting 2018, all procurement shall be done by the Bureau of Fire Protection and no longer by the PITC or PSDBM. So that was what I find out. And it's really some call of circumstances. That's why this procurement were given or requested to the PITC and PSDBM. But nung napuno na ng PSDBM po, hindi rin nila na-procure. Not one, not one fire truck was delivered until now. So, yun nga po, starting 2018, doon tayo on procurement at dumating po lahat yan.
Okay na,
Kayo po
starting
ang
2018.
sponsor namin noon at talagang pinush po ninyo yan
Oh,
na
yeah.
ma-deliver yung mga fire trucks at dumarating na po.
Yeah,
Madam
but-
Chair, so these funds are still with the PITC?
Yes, Madam Chair, it's still with the PITC.
So, Kong Bonito, it's still with the PITC.
Okay.
One good thing lang po, dahil hinahabol po natin, nag-earn din siya ng interest
Oh
na
my
about
God,
600
not the
million.
interest that we're talking here.
Yes.
Kasi tumataas na lahat ang bilihin. Of course, that includes already yung pagbili ng fire truck or police vehicle. But
But
diba?
of course, we need the fire trucks rather than
Madam
Okay.
Chair, am I correct to what the answer was that this was instructed by the then secretary?
by
Yes,
the
I
previous
suppose so, Mr.
secretary.
Ano
That
po?
was like in 2017 or 2016 because as been mentioned earlier, it started with the funds of 2016.
Opo, pero yung pagbibigay po ng instruction ay even before 2017. Dahil po
So-
nagkaroon ng
Oh,
nakasuhan po yung mga marami nating Bureau of Fire Protection officials at that time.
Who was the secretary?
past administration.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, so it started in the past administration, not this administration.
Yes.
Madam Chair, relative to the 4 billion only, no? Who was then the secretary who gave the instruction to transfer the funds?
I think at that time po ay panahon po ni Secretary Mar Rojas po sa palagay ko. At that
Oh,
time.
narinig po ninyo? I think daw sabi ni Secretary, it started in the time of Secretary Rojas.
Yes. Yeah, yes, Madam Chair. So, but well, the funds are still with PITC. No? I'm just clarifying some of these things because as chair of the Committee on Public Accounts, we are also on the subject matter of the public funds being transferred from one agency to the other, Madam Chair. No? So this is where my interest comes in. No? My next question, Madam Chair, is to the PNP also. No, we've been hearing a lot of reports of delayed release of salaries and wages and or benefits, as well as retirement funds of the PNP from members of the PNP, especially in the provinces. Is this confirmed or not, Madam Chair?
Okay, may we get an answer from the PNP? Secretary, may we get an answer from the PNP?
The suspicion that's
Is it
Well,
true that there's a delay
yeah, the haka-haka,
of
Madam,
salaries of men in uniform?
Madam Chair, I'd just like to add the speculation that's going around is that certain personnel in the treasury are and down the line are purposely delaying the release so that our policemen are forced to borrow money at usurious rates, which then these borrowers are also these borrowers also involved members of the police force or accounting office or the treasury.
Maybe we'll hear from the PNP as to
Yes.
whether there's a delay in the release of salaries of our policemen. Is
Yes,
this true?
Madam Chair, with regard to active members, wala pong delay doon. Meron po tayo doon sa mga pensioner. Kasi po dahil sa indexation, yung nagkaroon tayo ng differential for fiscal year 2018. At yung pong pondo na yun, na 10 billion, only 2 months po yung naibigay na pondo. Na yun po naman ay na-release na. But for the remaining 10 months, ay hindi pa po sa atin na ibibigay. So yun po yung maraming ang tumatawag, maraming nagte-text, at sinasabi nga nasa PNP lang. Hindi po, ganun din po yung ating sa counterpart. So,
Okay, but why the pensioners Kawawa naman sila. Ang late na nga ng pension nila.
Yes,
Madedelay
ma'am, but
pa.
it is beyond our control. Only 2 month amount of nag-average po kasi ng parang 889 million. Ito po, almost actually ang total po ng isang taon niya is 10.9 billion.
But with your policeman, wala naman delay.
Active ma'am, wala po. At saka isa po ma'am, yung
Pero
mga pension.
dapat kahit sana sa pensioner,
Yes, sir.
pagkatapos natin itong delay, sana ano,
Ma'am, ito po ma'am, by the way ma'am, differential po ma'am ito kasi nga, di ba nagtaasan yung sweldo.
so it's the differential.
Yes, ma'am. Opo, yun po ang kiniklaim nila,
Okay.
differential. Pero yung pong regular naman na dati, ay wala po na mga problema. Siguro,
Iba kayo sir, na pension.
No
Madam
delay
Chair?
in the release of salaries.
Yung iba namatay na yung...
yes, ma'am, if I may add, ma'am, kasi
Okay,
meron
okay,
kasi po
please.
mga pensioner hindi ba nag-update. So, nilililis po natin yan kasi marami tayo nakita doon na nakakatanggap na patay na, nawala na. So,
Okay.
nililis po natin and we need the cooperation of the pensioner. Gumagawa tayo ng way para naman malinis natin siya na less inconvenience for them. Pero syempre, bottom line po doon, malinis po natin yun. And probably meron din kasi nga na-transfer na yung pong sa TPPD, yung pension natin, based on the DOJ opinion na inilipat po yung payment of pension benefits, NAPOLCOM po nagpo-process. So pag-transfer po doon, nagkaroon ng kaunting
Ba't kasi panay ang
delay.
transfer dyan?
Right transfer.
Ma'am, yun naman po yung DOJ opinion sa amin because of that. So wala magawa naman kung hindi, ilipat po namin doon. Pero for the active,
When was that? When kailan ba yan nag-umpisa?
July po. Ito lang ma'am, July.
Just this July?
Yes ma'am.
Naku, baka malalo magkaloko-loko.
Ay, hindi po, kasi nailipat na rin
lipat-lipat?
naman.
Hanggang September.
Hanggang September nailipat na po yun and pinaprocess na po siya. Kaya
Okay.
nga lang, syempre,
But kindly look into this. Kasi
Yes, ma'am.
kawawa naman yung pensioners natin. Yung mga tatanggap.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
Yeah. Nagsimula po kasi yung problem na yan nung nag-plug po yung COA na ang sinasabi po nila ay nagdo-double compensation dahil tumatanggap po yung ating beneficiaries galing sa PNP at galing din po sa NAPOLCOM. So because of that po, yung DBM po ay hinold niya yung SARO dahil po doon sa tinatawag na findings na may double compensation. So iniluhog natin sa DOJ at nagbigay ng legal opinion ng DOJ at sinabi nga niya na nagko-constitute ito sa double compensation. Kaya according to the law, ang dapat daw ay ang NAPOLCOM ang nagbibigay nitong benefits. Kaya po sinunod natin itong bagong legal opinion. Kaya naglilipat po ngayon ng pondo ang PNP sa NAPOLCOM.
So in other words, it's a legal opinion coming from the DOJ.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Pero
So that's
okay
it,
naman po.
Kung Bonito.
Yes. So, Madam Chair, ibig sabihin, ito kakaayos lang itong paglipat, no? So, this has been going on for several years that this anomalous double compensation so observed, no, and mentioned by the Secretary, without the PNP or the DILG correcting, it had to take the COA observation to change their ways. And this is all public funds that are going kung saan na lang napupunta, yan, double compensation pa. Doesn't the PNP is under the NAPOLCOM, am I right, Madam Chair?
The DILG is under,
DILG.
NAPOLCOM is under DILG.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Oh.
I may answer, Madam Chair. Dalawa pong
Okay.
batas kasi yung pinagbabasihan yan.
Okay, go ahead.
Yung isa pong batas ay sinasabi na pwede pong tumanggap sa PNP. Ang isa pong batas din ay sinasabi na pwede ang NAPOLCOM. So, kaya po in compliance to the law ay binibigay po. Lately lang po nagbigay ng legal opinion ng DOJ na dapat ay sinusupersid na o kinakancel na niya yung isang provision sa kabilang batas. Kaya nag-correct din po kami. Pero all along po talaga for so
But
many
which
years.
is better sa inyo, Secretary?
Ang stand po kasi ng department, because these are gratuities and not part of the salary, they are not considered supposedly as double compensation. But because there's a legal opinion, although we are still going to uh, to to make an appeal and question that legal opinion to the higher court, because this is just a legal opinion. Kasi kawawa naman din po yung mga ating mga pensioners na dati nang tumatanggap. Maliit na amount lang naman po yung tinatanggap nila na yan.
Ang ano nga,
Kung bonito.
yes, aside from yun nga, yung question na yung confusion on dyan sa dalawang batas na sinasabi po, Madam Chair, no? Ang aking katanungan ay talagang nade-delay nga, not only through ito pati yung sweldo daw po na regular salaries and wages ng mga active, no? At in fact, they have I know of some policemen already, no? They have been sinasangla nila yung kanilang ATM cards sa mga lenders na who charge them a rate of I think 10% a month, no? Now, this is very alarming, Madam Chair, because kaya yung mga kapulisan natin ay parating nagkukulang ng pera at nag-double job siguro dahil napupunta sa usurious rates dahil po sa delay ng kanilang pay.
But it was mentioned, Senator Kong Bonito, that by the PNP na wala naman daw delay. Siguro kung nasasanla naman lahat, it's not only in the police, even when I was a governor, ganyan ang nangyayari sa mga empleyado namin, sasanla nila, ibigay nila yung ATM, which at times hindi naman nakasalanan. But it was mentioned earlier by the PNP na no delays naman daw. But anyway, they will just improve the system kung sakaling may mga ganon, Kong Bonito. I think your time is up, Bonito.
Yeah, Madam Chair, no?
One more question to ask.
Has the PNP also fully armed its personnel already? Lahat ba ng kapulisan po natin, because continuous yung pagbili nyo ng mga baril po natin, ano? Nabibigyan po ba lahat yung mga pulis natin ng baril, or meron pa rin tayong mga pulis na
Our PNP?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, opo, for the short firearms, yung ating pistol, 100% na po tayo. Actually, may sobra pa nga po doon sa ating tuloy-tuloy na procurement. At ito po ay permanently issued. Once na issue sa atin sa PNP, dala-dala po niya kahit saan siya ma-assign. Unless mag-retire, ma-dismiss siya, for whatever reason. At least yun po yung dala. For long firearms, hindi naman po individually meron siya eh. Yan po ay issued sa mga units na ginagamit ng ating mga pulis.
But every active member has?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
fully
So
armed
100%
na?
daw, Kong Bonito. Okay, thank you, Kong Bonito.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, for the next round.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, may we move on to the next? May the chair now recognize Deputy Speaker Rufus Rodriguez. Kong Rufus.
Thank you very much. Our chair, Banti Quaresma, good afternoon to you.
Afternoon,
And
DS.
all our research persons. Firstly, Madam Chair, I would like to thank Secretary Eduardo Anyo for the Joint Memorandum Circular number 2, giving 1 to 4,000 to those affected in Cagayan de Oro in the recent ECQ declaration. Thank you very much, Secretary Anyo. The amounts have been given. There are some problems in the distribution, but we will be able to take care of those who have not been given. And of course, our distribution Cagayan de Oro was assisted by the Philippine National Police. And thank you to our Chief PNP, Guillermo Tolentino Eliazar, my good friend. And of course, we also have our police chief doing very well, doing a lot of preventive measures and also catching those who would commit crimes, no less than Colonel Aaron Mandia. Madam Chair. Now may I go to my questions? These questions will be short, at 1 minute each, 5 questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, go ahead, DS.
First question to General Chief PNP Eliazar. Your Regional Learning and Doctrine Development Division, headed by Colonel Roland Batolan, is in need for assistance for materials for their old dilapidated and fire hazard one-story building. They're asking about 300,000. May we ask that, Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
May we get an answer from
Yes, ma'am.
the
Opo,
GPNP?
we'll consider it, ma'am. So
Okay.
we'll take, noted po,
Your
Congressman, sir.
request is considered by the GPNP, DS Rufus.
Thank you very much. That is why I like so much General Eliazar, whom I have known when he was still in Metro Manila. Okay. Next question to General Eliazar. Your predecessor promised last budget hearing last year that they will send 2 vehicles or police vehicles to Cagayan de Oro. Have you been able to give that since January up to now, September? Madam Chair.
I think the procurement still on is still in process. But we get an answer.
Deliver na yung amin, Madam Chair.
Hindi pa po dumarating yung for this year, pero parating na po yun at approved na rin po yun.
Okay.
Issued one, ito po, nakalagay po dito, meron na pong, we
I
issued
like it.
1 unit patrol jeep single
So
to
it's
Cagayan
in the
de
list.
Oro. Meron na pong supply directive, kahit wala
Okay,
pa.
so
Thank
it's
you. Madam Chair, again, a very good, correct answer. Thank you very much, General Eliazar. I'm having a streak of correct answers. Then I will now go to Chief Superintendent Louis Huracan, Bureau of Fire Protection. As I've told you, Madam Chair, this is just 1 minute questions, 5 questions.
Okay, yes, anything. Just go on, DS Rufus.
Is our Chief Superintendent of
Go ahead
BFP,
with us.
Huracan,
Is that-
present? Is
Yeah,
present?
he's with us, DS. So
Thank you. So my question is, last year, your predecessor likewise promised to give 1 fire truck to the city of Golden Friendship, Cagayan de Oro. Is that already delivered?
Okay, may we get an answer para mabilis? May we get an answer from the OIC BFP director?
I'm sorry to answer your honor that as of today, hindi pa dumating yung fire truck na for deliveries natin. But
How
we will consider
how
it.
many fire trucks ba ang supposed
We are
to be?
expecting 64 fire trucks this year.
Okay, but DS Rufus is asking us to whether it's in that 64 vehicles that shall arrive, one is allocated to his district. Yes or no? Yun lang naman ang sagot dyan eh.
Hindi pa namin
Thank you for asking that, Madam Chair.
I think the BFP director is considering ititignan daw.
No, I received a letter already. Madam Chair, I received a letter already from one of the officials that it is now Cagayan de Oro has been earmarked 1 fire truck. Can that be confirmed by our BFP?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've seen, sir, na yung request nyo for fire truck is for included in the 61 fire trucks. We have 2 deliveries this year, 64 and another 61. A total of 125 fire trucks are coming.
So I will have 2. I will have 2 fire trucks, correct? 2 purchases.
Wait,
Only one, sir.
is for
Only
me,
one, sir.
DS Rufus.
Only
one.
For
It's
Cagayan de
still
Oro.
good for me already and our city. Thank you very much, our Bureau of Fire Protection head. Now may go now to BGMP. My last question, Madam Chair. This is fast. I will go only 5 minutes. Can I proceed?
Okay,
BGMP.
so the BFP director will just get in touch with you, DS Rufus.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Now, just last question to the BGMP.
Okay, yes, go ahead, DS.
Yes, my question is, last budget hearing, Jail Director Alan Soliano Iral promised that there will be 1 prisoner truck or van for our Lumbia Penitentiary in Cagayan de Oro City. May we know if it has been delivered?
Okay, may we get an answer? Secretary Anyo, may we get an answer from the...
Mr. Chairman.
Chair, the BGMP head is here, Madam Chair.
Yes, Madam Chair. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to the very supportive Congressman Rufus Rodriguez of Cagayan de Oro. Alam niyo, Madam Chair, napakaganda po ng mga jail facilities natin sa Region 10 at kung prisoners ba naman yung pag-uusapan, it's on the pipeline, Madam Chair. Actually, na-receive na po namin yung sulat galing kay Congressman Rufus Rodriguez regarding sa request niya.
So
So,
we are going
ano,
to
sir?
have one before
yes sir,
December.
yes sir, opo. Opo sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So let me just express my thanks to General Eliasar.
Oh,
Yes, to General Eliasar, to General Puracan, and then to General Iral and to Secretary Anyo. Thank you that we will have all of these vehicles for Cagayan de Oro, the city of golden friendship. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for giving me the opportunity to ask these questions. Thank you very much. I support fully the budget of the DILG, including the PNP, BGMP, and the BFP. Thank you very much and good afternoon, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Deputy Speaker Rufus Rodriguez. So, may the chair now recognize from the minority, the Honorable Janet Garin. Last call for Congressman Janet Garin. Congressman Janet Garin is recognized by the chair. I think Congressman Janet Garin is not yet around, so may the chair now go back to the majority. May the chair now recognize Deputy Majority Leader Tyro Nagcabas.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Nakakaingit naman si DS Rufus. Baka makalimutan ko, meron akong sulat sa inyo. Kabibigay ko lang ngayon. So, sa fire truck tsaka patrol car din. I hope hindi ko na ulitin next year. Anyway, before I proceed to my question, let me congratulate and thank the good Secretary Anyo and the men and women of the DILG for a job well done, especially also to the men and women of the PNP, General Guillermo Lizar, and of course, General Jun Azurin, to our RD, General Peralta, and our Provincial Director, Colonel Oral Gayo. So my question refers to the Mandanas ruling. So if I may refer this question to the legal department, do we have with us the Director Romy Benitez?
Yes, Madam Chair, he's on board via Zoom.
Okay, so may we now recognize who's in the Zoom?
Attorney Romy Benitez, Madam Chair, but the good congressman has yet to ask the question.
Okay. So thank you. May I proceed, Madam Chairman?
Okay, please.
In the national expenditure program of the for the 2022 budget, napansin po kasi natin doon na wala doon ang farm to market roads. Pag nagtatanong tayo sa regional offices, ang tanong nila, ang sagot nila, Mandanas ruling. Napansin din natin sa school buildings, wala din sa NEP. If we ask naman sa regional offices ng DepEd, sagot na naman nila dahil sa Mandanas ruling. Even sa social services, may mga hindi rin ako napansin doon, nasagot nila sa Mandanas ruling. So, Director Benitez, I just want to put on proper perspective, ano po ba talaga mandato ng Mandanas ruling sa devolution ng function ng national agencies sa local government units?
Okay, may we get an answer?
May I call Attorney Romy Benitez, the Chief of the Legal and Legislative Liaison Services.
Okay, you are recognized, Attorney? Wala naman. Secretary, wala naman.
Ma'am, just wait a while, ma'am.
Okay,
Kasi
we'll
baka,
just wait, Kong Tyron. Okay, Yusek Iringan is recognized by the chair.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Your Honor, the Mandanas ruling clarified the
the share of the local government units from the taxes collected by the national government. And the ruling says the collection of the Bureau of Internal Revenue. That is the reason why for 2022 there is a like 37+% increase of the share of the local government units comparing it with 2021.
Thank you, Yusek. That is very clear. The Mandanas ruling resolved the increased share of local government units in terms of the era. But does the Supreme Court ruling contain a specific mandate mandating the national government agencies to devolve their functions to the local government units?
Yes, sir. The Mandanas, the Supreme Court ruling only clarified the share, but the national government sees it that it is now the most opportune time for all the services provided or contained in Section 17 of the Local Government Code of 1991 to be fully devolved to the local government units.
Thank you, Yusek. So I asked this kasi palaging dinidikit yung absence ng ibang program sa national government ngayon sa Mandanas ruling. And to be fair, sa Mandanas ruling, it only resolved the IRA share. Wala siyang pronouncement or declaration as to the devolution of functions to local government units. So it is not fair or safe to say na ididikit natin palagi sa Mandanas ruling. But mas maganda po sana to be fair and state that the current devolution of national agencies functions to local government units is mandated not by the Mandanas ruling, but by the provision of the local government code, Section 17 thereof, and of course, Article 2, Section 25 of the Constitution. So inilalagay po lang natin sa proper perspective lang po yun para alam po natin kung saan nanggagaling yung functionality po ng Mandanas ruling vis-a-vis yung Executive Order number 138. Na kung saan po ay napag-alaman po natin na tapos na pala yung Committee on Devolution na nag-create na po pala at for implementation na po. So I'm going to my next question. Next year kasi yung mga local government units po natin, sigurado ko they will be overburdened by a lot of issuances by EU 138 only to ensure that the devolved functions will be fully implemented. Hindi po, kumbaga, mawawala, kundi po may implemented in accordance with the guidelines that will be issued by the national government. Sa tingin niyo po ba, hindi po ba ito sasagasa sa local fiscal autonomy ng local government units considering na increase ng share nila ng IRA, kanila po yun. Sa kanila po yun. So kung may mamanggagaling guidelines po sa taas, hindi po ba yan sasagasa sa kanilang local autonomy?
Madam Chair, may I? Thank you, Madam Chair. As provided by Executive Order 138, Your Honor, local government units are mandated to implement functions and services contained in Section 7 of the Local Government Code. But in no way are they mandated or obliged to mandatorily implement the devolved services that will be scaled down by the national government agencies. So there will be no mandatory absorption by the local government units of the functions or programs, projects, and activities that will be scaled down by the national government agencies.
Thank you, Yusek. I will go to the next question, my third question. Dito po sa patrol cars at mga fire trucks, pag fully devolved na po ba ang functions natin, hindi na po ba magpo-procure ang PNP ng mga fire trucks at saka patrol cars?
Yeah, may we get an answer from...
May I answer?
Yes, please.
As far as our tri-services, the PNP, the BJP, Bureau of Fire, they will still continue to procure those equipment and shall be given to the different regions and provinces and municipalities where they are needed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Secretary. I asked that question because last week, umikot po ako sa distrito natin. Nakausap ko po yung mga hepe po ng mga kapulisan natin. Nangangamba po sila na baka mawala po sa kanila. Just recently, narinig po natin lahat ng mga colleagues natin, karamihan ng tanong po nila is related to patrol cars and fire trucks. Kasi alam po natin na patrol cars, central po, peace and order is central to the development of every local government unit. Niintindihan po natin yan. So may suggestions po yung mga kapulisan natin if the DILG would be amenable to it, to amend MC 2017 the 6067. Ito po yung doon sa lakap anti-criminality program po natin dated May 22, 2017. Kung pwede po sana, if it is okay with you, magkakaroon po tayo ng MC kasi nakalagay po sa 2017-67, nakalagay po doon that the local government unit shall provide substantial amount in the budget. Hindi po specific yung nakalagay na percentage. If it's okay, from a percentage of 1 to 5%, pwede ba natin ilagay yun na pag fully devolved yung function sa ano natin, sa mga LGUs po natin, para doon nakukunin, halimbawa may kakulungan sa patrol cars, doon nakukunin ng mga LGUs yung mga kailangan nila sa mga patrol cars, fire trucks, or even services na mga LGUO nila para maging functional po tayo sa mga pamayanan. Would that be okay, dear Secretary?
Yes, Madam Chair, we will revisit the MC and we will make an adjustment to that in relation also to the devolution.
Yes.
Yes, Madam Chair.
And to ensure that, Mr. Secretary, pwede ba nating attach yan sa SGLG? Para ma-comply natin po yan. Para hindi tayo harap sa
Yes,
peace
I
and
will
order.
refer this to the SGLG Council so that they can take note and make the deliberation, and if it's allowed, then it will be considered.
And lastly, Madam Chairman, I will go to my last question. Alam ko pong medyo matagal na po at marami
Yes,
pang
please.
magtatanong.
Okay.
Is there any amount in your proposed budget, Mr. Secretary, that was reduced and you want to be restored?
Yes, of course, Madam Chair, thank you very much for that opportunity.
Okay.
One of the agencies that we would like to really have a lot of improvement is the Local Government Academy, because they will play a major role in this Mandanas and Garcia ruling. Secondly is, well, it's no longer with us, but the assistance to the municipalities are really very important, the Salin Tubig and the CMGP, because it actually ensures development in our LGUs. And if they are restored, then that would be a big help for us. And lastly, of course, the contact tracer fund, because we don't have any more budget or funding or proposed funding for the 2022 budget for contact tracers. All of our contact tracers term will expire December 31, 2021, and the pandemic's not yet over. So we would like to request for the funding of 25,000 contact tracers for the year of 2022 for 25,000 contact tracers.
And then how much?
It's about
is needed?
6.7 billion, Madam Chair.
6.7
6.7 billion. Madam
billion.
Chair.
Did you discuss this with the DBM?
Yes, Madam Chair, but unfortunately, you were given a ceiling, and
Okay, okay, we'll take note of that.
thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I think the chairperson, Madam Bandi, was listening intently. So at the proper time and opportunity, we will support the restoration of the proposed budget of the DILG. So that's it. Thank you so much, Madam. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your presence to all resource speakers.
Okay, so thank you very much, Kong Tyra Nagabas. But before that, may I relinquish my post to my co-chair, the Honorable Alan Benedict Reyes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next in line would be from the majority, DS-DB Savellano. DS Savellano, your...
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Mr. Secretary, and to the DILG family. Ang tanong ko lang po regarding po yung first sa sa DILG. We have a case in that presented by the Civil Service Commission na padalo sa DILG last December 17, 2020. And nagpa-follow up po kami dito until now wala pa hong action. Yung case po dito, yung absence po, yung leave of absence ng mayor, yung vice mayor and Sangguniang Bayan member, more than 1 year po silang nawala. And wala hong action ng kaya kami sumulat sa civil service at meron na recommendation. Ano na po ba nangyari dito?
Secretary Anyo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to ask Attorney Romy Benitez, the Chief of the Legal Service of the DILG. He's on board already a while ago. So may we request the Secretariat to focus on him and unmute him so he can provide the answer.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Secretary.
You are now recognized. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. To the Honorable Congressman, we basically have this policy under AO number 15 that whenever there is a vacancy, temporary in character, in any of our elective offices, then OP has granted authority on the part of the Secretary of the Interior and Local Government to provide for temporary occupants of the office. Now, at this point, Honorable Congressman, may we know the name of the elected official and whether a copy or an information was already forwarded to the DILG?
Yes, it was forwarded December 17, 2020 to the Office of Secretary Anyo.
So may we know again, sir, the name of the official?
The names are Vice Mayor Jemima Tanyi and Sangguniang Bayan member Jos Edward Kubangbang.
Yes, thank you very much, Your Honor. But as far as our records are concerned here in the legal service, sir, we have not yet received any requests for temporary replacement for an elective official. But
no, but the thing is, matagal na po yan, nakabalik na po sila. Pero the point is, yung leave of absence nila for 1 year, hindi naman sila nag-leave and puro fake ko yung ginawa nila because they were under the warrant of arrest. Nagtatago po sila sa isang taon na hindi silang silbi during the pandemic. Yun ho yung sulat po sa inyo. So anyway, Mr. Chairman, Secretary Anyo, pwede po bang mag-usap na lang kami ni Director Romeo Ramirez regarding this para sayang ho yung oras ko eh.
Yes, yes, Mr. Chair. We will track that case and we'll make sure we have appropriate action. And I give the authority to Attorney Benitez to consult and discuss it directly with you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Another thing, Mr. Chair, sa PNP naman po, regarding mga non-uniform personnel po ninyo, in the town of Sinait, meron po diyang in the name of Michelle Espejo na horda, na bias po masyado sa sa pag-handle po ng mga affairs ng PNP doon. So meron pong mga reklamo sa kanya. So wala po bang reshuffling na mga ganito?
Chief PNP is now recognized.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, yung po kasi mga non-uniform personnel ay plantilla position. So, talagang doon po sila naka-detail, unlike the uniform personnel. But we will see to it na yung pong inyong concern ay aming maimbestigahan. Kasi the non-uniform personnel, just like the uniform personnel, ay pwede rin po sila ma-subject for investigation at mabigyan ng sanction kung sakaling meron silang mga lapses sa kanilang trabaho.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Another thing, Mr. Chair, I have so many letters to DILG regarding po yung mga request namin ng motorcycle vehicles and also bicycles for the police force. Kasi po yung para magamit po sila sa vegan heritage.
DV, can you kindly repeat? Nag-choppy dito sa signal namin dito. DSDV. Pakiulit yung sinabi mo.
Ulat na po. Pero wala.
DV, the signal was choppy, so may we ask you to try again? Contact us again. DSDV, are you still around? As soon as DSDV comes back, we can go back to him. May I call the next congressman, Congressman Onyx Crisologo, for your 5 minutes. Last call, Congressman Onyx. Before we close the first round of discussions, if DSDV is already around, just in case, we will be closing the first round, but as soon as he gets online again, he will get a chance to continue his questioning. But we would like to now move to close the first round, and now we're going to the second round of questioning. Given 2 minutes per congressman, because we already have to accommodate the DSWD budget briefing after this. So may I call the first person online is Congressman Edsel Lagman. Are you around, Congressman Lagman? Congressman Edsel, for your second round of questioning. Okay, if Congressman Edsel is still not around, Congresswoman Sara Ilago is now next in line. Congressman Sara Ilago.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
You're now
Can I be
recognized.
heard now?
Yes, 2 minutes, Congresswoman. You're now
Mr.
recognized.
Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. As we barrel through the present multi-layered public health, human rights, and planetary emergencies, the Filipino youth are also facing a major education and learning crisis, as well as joblessness, contextualization, and the overall lack of gainful employment and career opportunities in the country. Mr. Chair, may we know the position and policy recommendation of the NYC on the matter of school closures amid the pandemic?
Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to ask the Chairman of the National Youth Commission to be on board and provide the answer to the query of Congresswoman Sara Ilago.
Ano na po, Nine?
Congressman Lagman, after Congresswoman Ilagos 2 minutes, I will call you. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, may we
Yes,
give
go ahead.
the floor first to Representative Lagman since we're still waiting for the chair of the National Youth Commission.
Okay, thank you, Congresswoman Sara. Congressman Edsel, you're now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This morning, I requested the distinguished secretary of the DILG if we could be furnished a copy of the board local projects in 2022, which will be funded from the ERA. And I would like to make an additional request that if there could be a submission of the local projects under the 2021 GAA, which are funded by the national government, just to complete the submission. Now, earlier, Secretary Anyo told us that the local government support fund is already itemized. May we know if the Secretary is going to confirm that?
Sir Secretary, you're
Yeah,
now
may I
recognized.
make clarification? What I declared that itemized are the support to the barangay development programs, which we shall submit later to the House of Representatives. As to the LGSF, this is under the program of the Department of Budget and Management, and we don't have access on those particular projects so far for 2022, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Congressman Lagman.
Now, the amount appropriated for LDSF for fiscal year 2022 is 51.175 billion, broken down as follows. Financial assistance to LGUs, 13.055 billion. NTF LCAC, 28.120 billion, and Growth Equity Fund, 10 billion. Would the Secretary of the DILG confirm these figures?
Mr. Secretary.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I confirm those figures, Mr. Chair.
And as of today, none of these lump sums are itemized. Is that correct?
Partly, Mr. Chair, the 28 billion for the support to the barangay development programs are currently being done. And as I said, it would be submitted to the House of Representatives before the plenary because we are making sure that these programs to the barangays are itemized and in accordance to the needs assessment survey conducted during the RCSP, Mr. Chair.
Congressman Edsel, does that answer your question?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. We are waiting if the 28.120 billion under the NTF LCAC would also be itemized. Now,
yes, Mr. Chair.
What is the relevance of the devolution transition plan in connection with the preparation and enactment of the 2022 General Appropriations Act?
Mr. Secretary.
Yeah, may I give the floor to Yusek Iringan, Mr. Chairman?
You are now recognized, Yusek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Congressman Lagman. Yes, sir. The LGU Devolution Transition Plan will serve as a roadmap that will be the basis of the local government unit in making sure that the implementation of the Mandanas ruling in 2022 will be effective and efficient. It will also serve as a ready reference for our local government units in order to ensure that the
Is there some interruption or disconnection, Mr. Chairman? I did not hear the last portion of the answer.
Yun. Ay, shit, na pala talaga.
Can we get the answer again, Mr. Chairman? Which will not be deducted from my time.
Congressman Edsel, can you repeat? We had some difficulty here this side. We didn't hear your comments.
Well, I wasn't able to hear the last part of the answer to my question on what is the relevance of the devolution transition plan to the preparation and enactment of the 2022 General Appropriations Act.
Okay, I'll tell Yusek kindly answer again.
yes, sir. The LGU Devolution Transition Plan will be the sort of instrument or tool by the local government units in order to come up with strategies that will make sure that they will be effectively and efficiently implementing the functions and services that will be fully devolved to them in 2022. The plan shall contain the list of functions and services that will be scaled up by the local government units. It will also contain the capacity development agenda that will enhance the capacity of the LGUs to fully deliver these functions and services, and also the proposed organizational structure and staffing pattern of the LGUs for them to fully perform these functions and services. Plus, of course, Mr. Chair, the different interventions and strategies to fully make use of the powers vested to the local government units, particularly
Mr. Chairman.
And after this is the wind-up question from you, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, considering the periods given to the local government units to submit their DTP, I would surmise that these submissions will be completed possibly after the enactment of the 2022 General Appropriations Act. Is that a correct observation, Mr. Secretary?
Mr. Secretary?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I suppose so.
My last question. In 2019, Mr. Secretary, 1 billion was appropriated for the repair of public markets and public cemeteries nationwide. Would you recall that, Mr. Secretary?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And that was not replicated in 2020 and 2021. Is it possible, Mr. Secretary, to have a similar or more amount, considering that many more public markets and public cemeteries nationwide are need immediate repair and renovation, and some of those which were repaired are still not completed because of lack of funding.
Mr. Secretary.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, regarding the programs for these market and public cemeteries, these are being done by the Department of Public Works and Highways. But it's unfortunate that this pandemic has caught up with us. That's why there were delays. But we have reminded DPWH for the completion of this project, Mr. Chair. And so far, the funds have not yet expired, and the DPWH assured us that they will finish these projects, Mr. Chair.
I understand, Mr. Secretary, that the funding came from DILG. It was only the implementation of the project which was referred to or downloaded to the DPWH. And I also understand most, if not all, of the projects had been completed or are still subject to completion because of lack of funds. And there is no more amount left of the 1 billion, according to the director in charge in the DILG. So my question is, can we request for an additional funding for 2022 for the repair of public markets and public cemeteries?
Thank you, Congressman Edsel. The good secretary will answer your final question. Okay, go ahead, Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, these funds were not allocated for DILG, but rather under the Ldsf and directly released by the DBM and transferred to the TPWH for the implementation. And our role is really to monitor and evaluate the programs. And as per report, it is 92% completion, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to just tell the good secretary that the amount of 1 billion was my initiative, and it was approved by the DILG. It was DILG which funded this repair of municipal public markets and public cemeteries. It was not under the Ldsf, Mr. Secretary. So my request is funding again from the good secretary for this.
Thank you, Congressman Edsel. The Secretary Anyo, please give his please answer the inquiry of the good congressman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'd like to thank Congressman Edsel for this noble initiative. But these funds were released directly to the DPWH and did not really pass through the DILG being a special provision in the GAA. But nevertheless, Mr. Chair, it is our intention to ensure the completion of this project, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Congressman Edsel. We have to move on to the next speaker, next Congress person to ask. May I call Congresswoman Sara Ilago to continue her questioning? Congresswoman Sara, you have 1.5 minutes.
Mr. Chair, let me repeat my question, and I hope this wouldn't be reduced to.
Okay, go ahead,
Can I be heard?
Congresswoman Sara. Yes, go ahead.
All right. Mr. Chair, may we know the position and policy recommendation of the NYC on the matter of school closures amid the pandemic?
Good afternoon, Mr. Yes, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Ms.
Yeah, I would like to introduce, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Lexi Dayanghirang from the National Youth Commission. In as much as the chairman now is afflicted with COVID, and he has to quarantine himself. So let me give the floor to Commissioner Dayang-Hirang, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner, you're now recognized.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Congresswoman Elago. So far since the COVID-19 has started, the National Youth Commission has been doing or providing and promoting a lot of policy advocacies with regards to the youth, especially in education. So for last year, we have a policy which is urging school teachers, of course, for overloading the academic load of our students. And also recently, one policy recommendation that was passed was that an assistance for returning international students from abroad. And with regards to the other question that was asked also by Congresswoman Elago with regards to the employment of the Filipino youth, we are closely partnering and monitoring through our regional interagency and monitoring consultations with, of course, different government agencies like the DTI and DA. Like, for example, some of it are the government internship program, and also we have special programs for employment status and Jumpstart Philippines, and also career advocacy, employment coaching, EC Agri, scholarship program on continuing education for the youth, and Young Filipino Farm Leaders Training Program in different countries. And also we are also advocating right now agri entrepreneurship to our Filipino youth, especially to our Sangguniang Kabataan and our local youth development officers. And in line with that also, we are also campaigning for urban gardening. And of course, given the current situations, our SKs, our youth are one of the frontliners. So we are not just helping them physically to be physically fit, but we are also providing assistance and help to make them better, for their well-being, for them to be able or be active in serving and being participative in all the sectors of our government, and of course for the Filipino youth.
Mr. Chair, what about the matter of the reopening of schools and the policy of no vaccine, no resumption of face-to-face classes of the Duterte administration?
Commissioner.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So with regards to that, we also have a proposed policy. Of course, for now, given the current situation of the Philippines, it is really not the time yet for a face-to-face class, especially for our younger generations, the junior high school and senior high school, except for them, given the exception for medical students, where they really need physical practice and education. But in addition to that, one of the biggest problems that we are facing, aside from the online classes, or one of the challenges of the online classes, of course, the existing and incurring mental health problems that is brought by lack of socialization, lack of any support from their friends, or the big change that it has brought since the COVID-19 pandemic has started. So under the NYC, we are proposing a mandatory mental health break to all schools for the next school year, hopefully, that it will be adopted not just by the public schools, but also by the private schools, so that in this span of 1 week, the students will be able to reboot their systems and to realize that this COVID-19 pandemic is just a phase, and that their life goes on. Of course, education is very important for their future and for their well-being, and of course for them being a very active citizen in this country. And that education, it's not just for their career or their paths, but it is also for relating to different changes in the future that will create different innovations. Yes, thank you.
Congresswoman.
Mr. Chair, there are millions of in-school youth and those enrolled in the alternative learning system who are diversely affected by the prolonged closure of schools because of the huge divide in digital accessibility and the income of our kababayans. Not everyone has a conducive learning space at home for distance education, and so this youth representation has been advocating for a phased reopening of our schools. According to the UN, Mr. Chair, the Philippines is now one of the only 3 countries in the world with schools closed for more than a year. It would be a great disservice for the Filipino youth if the NYC would not support this clarion call of youth and students for the safe return of all education stakeholders to in-campus and limited face-to-face learning. Hindi po yan magiging sabay-sabay, Mr. Chair, kundi titiyakin na talagang magiging ligtas at gradual habang hinahanda po natin yung lahat ng mga kinakailangan na prevention at mitigation strategies para matiyak na magiging ligtas ang pagbabalik eskwela ng ating mga estudyante. We also call, Mr. Chair, for youth-targeted relief measures on wage, agricultural productivity subsidy, paid pandemic leave, student aid, and internet communications allowances for inclusion and more equal access to education and employment. Ang panawagan po ng kabataan, pondo para sa kalusugan, sa ayuda, trabaho, sa kabuhayan, sa edukasyon, at pagtatanggol ng karapatan at proteksyon ng kapakanan ng mamamayan. And to end this representation, Mr. Chair would like to request for the submission of the following to the APRO committee before the plenary deliberation of the DILG budget, including that of the NYC. Number 1, the NYC accomplishment report for 2020. Number 2, the PNP's status of investigation and action on all reported police abuse and maltreatment of quarantine violators. Number 3, the 2022 proposal details for the Safe Philippines program. And number 4, the original proposal of the Philippine Commission on Women, which suffered po a huge budget cut for the year 2020. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair.
Thank you,
Maraming salamat.
Congresswoman Sara, the voice of the youth. We heard you very well here. Secretary Anyo, your reply to the requests of Congresswoman Sara.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We will comply with the reasonable request of Congresswoman Sara Ilago, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congresswoman Sara. Now we will go back to Congressman D.V. Savellano for his 2 minutes questioning of the remaining 2 minutes. Go ahead, Congressman D.V.
Yan. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yung ano po, yung binabanggit ko nga kanina, ulitin ko na naman, yung mga request po namin sa district, like yung mga motorcycles for the municipalities, matagal na ho namin re-request until na wala pa rin, no? And yung para sa vegan city ho, yung vegan heritage village namin, kung nakikita nyo sa likod, yan, nag-request din kami ng mga bisikleta para sa mga PNP namin kasi hindi pwede mga motor vehicles dyan. So, sana po, Mr. Chair, matugunan naman ito kaagad.
Secretary Anyo, the simple request of our good Congressman D.V.
Yes, Mr. Chair, our GPNP is here and he has taken noted all the concern of the good Congressman, Mr. Chair.
Another thing, Mr. Chair, is regarding po yung sa Lumage port namin, marami hong dumadaong na mga maraming dumadaong na mga foreign vessels. Pero wala hong naka-station na police po doon. So there were times before na yung ito lagi ko sinasabi pero ngayong pandemic wala masyado, but there were times before na yung mga foreigners namamalengke po sa palengke namin. So pwede ho bang strictuhan lang po 'yon?
Secretary Anyo,
Yes, Mr. Chair, and we will also coordinate with other agencies like the Philippine Coast Guard and the Armed Forces of the Philippines to ensure that there will be no unauthorized person entering our territory. Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Secretary.
Yeah,
Yes.
another thing, Mr. Chair, is regarding po yung CIDG sa amin. Ang bilis po nagpalit and I heard na 2 weeks lang napalitan na kagad and ang parang kasalanan niya nakipag-coordinate sa governor, sa mga mayor, sa akin Because sabi ko it's budgeting time. Ano ba may pwede namin may tutulong sa inyo? But that was the reason na sinabi nila na parang extortion na daw siya. So anong extortion 'yon? But kasi gusto natin tulungan yung institusyon para mas maganda sana ang performance. But yan naman nang pinalitan kagad.
Secretary Anyo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The good chief PNP will look into that and he will conduct an investigation to that. Why the sudden relief of the CIDG chief in the area, Mr. Chair?
Kasi maganda po dito yung pinalitan po top performer ho, ang dami yung mga achievements in I think it's only 56 days that she performed. Maganda ho yung ano niya pero pinalitan ho kagad. So yun ang hindi ko rin questionable po sa akin yung pagkapalit niya. So Mr. Chair, yung isang dating report ko na sa DILG regarding po yung salin na tubig program sa Municipality of Cabugao, dinownload nila but hindi ho nagfa-function. So sayang ho yung pondo ng gobyerno.
Secretary Anyo, that was, you have 20 seconds left. Next, DS, kung may tatanong ko. But Secretary Anyo will answer your question.
Yes, Mr. Chair, titingnan po namin yun. Na sinabi ni Congressman, bakit hindi nagpa-function and will take appropriate actions on that.
DS, do you still have any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, ano pong sagot dun sa yung salin tubig?
Yes, Mr. Chair, titingnan po natin kung anong...
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Another thing to the PNP, yung pagkamatay po ng mayoralty candidate na si Lander Agdekpa of Sinait. Until now po wala ho tayong doon, wala tayong naririnig na report. Politika po 'yun, tumakbong mayor tapos namatay siya. So ano ba yung questionable do na And may mga text po na nanggagaling dun sa kamag-anak ng yung mga culprit na may yung vice mayor na naman inaan naman nila ngayon na tawag nito tinatakot naman. So pakitingnan bulong dito kasi parang connected po 'yon.
Thank you, DS, for your last question. The Chief PNP...
Mr. Chair, isa na lang po, importante po to.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, last na lang po.
Will I let the Chief PNP answer, Mr. DS?
Yeah, sige, sige.
Sagutin ko muna si Chief PNP sa question mo.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We will check on that. Actually, our regional director is monitoring this, and we'll see to it that we will give you the necessary updated feedback, Congressman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And lastly, Mr. Chair, yung request po natin sa this has been I've been requesting this since 2016 nung nag-congressman tayo. Yung pong fire truck for the city of Vigan na sana po dito lang ho siya nakapantay dito sa Heritage Village. Hindi na po namin kailangan yung malalaki kasi maliit po yung mga kalye namin. So yun ho sanang i-purchase na promise yung BFP, until now wala pa. Sabi na meron na, but the following, wala na naman. So sana po ma-actionan natin kasi Heritage Village ho to, nakikita niyo man yung mga bahay, talagang kailangan natin protektahan. Kasi ito yung isang pinagmamalaki natin sa buong Pilipinas.
Thank you, DS. We will ask the Bureau of Fire to answer your inquiry regarding the fire trucks.
For the years 2020 and 2021, sir, we have 64 for 2020, 61 for 2021. Those fire trucks are not yet delivered. And for our proposal in the fiscal year 2022, 104 fire trucks. We can accommodate the request of the good.
Pero Mr. Chair, please, Mr. Chair, please consider po yung mga kalye namin dyan, maliliit po. Maliliit. Kung nakikita niyo po yung background ko, maliliit po yung mga kalye dyan. So, kailangan po namin yung talagang babagay dyan.
Noted, Mr. Chair. Noted.
Thank you, DS.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you everyone.
Yes. A short note lang, manifestation from the chair. Sana yung BFP will become, pag kumukuha ng mga fire truck, sana area specific. Tulad nga doon, maliit yung lugar. Hindi man pwede yung mga Rosenbauer, yung mga malalaki para sa lugar tulad nung kay DS. So I guess that should be an area that you should look into. Tapos yung areas without water, dapat mga tanker like vehicles. Tapos kunyari mountainous, yung mga malalaking 4x4 type truck. So hindi pwede kasi one type for all, I guess. So yun lang, that's a manifestation. Kasi yun ang isang advocacy ko, volunteer fire. So that's my one of my advocacies as a congressman. So thank you. We move on to our next Congressman Carlos Zarate, for your questioning. You're given 2 minutes, Kaloy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat. On to my interpellation. Maraming gustong ibalik na pondo ang DILG, Mr. Chair, dun sa proposed budget nila. Pero I'm showing this to I hope nakikita ba ito sa screen, Mr. Chair, yung sinishare ko?
Yes.
Okay. Napansin ko lang, Mr. Chair, no, all these years, pataas na pataas yung budget ng DILG from 2016. No? But ang dami nilang unused appropriation. No? For example, in 2016, that's 9.6 billion. 2017, that's 8.5 billion. 2018, 7.4 billion. 2019, 8.2 billion. And finally, 2020, 9.9 billion. No? Mag-a-average yan to 7 to 8 billion. No? So, ang daming pondo no, na hindi nagagamit ang DILG at ang kanyang mga attached agencies. And now, humihingi huli sila ng mataas na budget for 2022. May we get an explanation from DILG, Mr. Chair? Dahil kung nung 2020, meron pala silang 9 billion na hindi pa nagastos, no? Might as well, yung hinihingi nilang pondo ngayon ay dalhin natin doon sa mas pangangailangan nating pondo for COVID-19 intervention, Mr. Chair, no? May we get a reply from DILG, Mr. Chair?
Okay, yes. Okay, Congressman Kaloy, you have 30 seconds after this. So the good secretary will answer your question.
Yeah,
Secretary
Mr. Chair,
Anyo.
we're just getting the data, Mr.
Well, they're getting the data, Mr. Chair. No? Take note that isa sa pinakamalaking merong unused appropriation dyan is the PNP. No? For 2020, that's 5.6 billion.
Yes, the chief PNP is also looking into the documents you are mentioning. Please give them a few
Yes,
minutes.
Mr. Chair,
Secretary, you now recognize.
I'll request Director Jinky Cerezo to provide the answer first for the Office of the Secretary.
The director is now recognized.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. So for the Office of the Secretary, for the 2020 unreleased appropriation, we have 121 million. So out of this 121 million as of December 31, 2020, so we have DBM issued a total of 50 plus million, leaving a balance of 84 million. As of for 2021, out of the unreleased appropriation of 1.285 billion, so we have, as of August, we only have 1.209 billion, which is composed of the PCF and construction of provincial offices amounting to 209 million.
Mr. Chair, doon po sa 1.2 billion na yon, kasama yung SGLP fund or the PCF na 1 billion. At ito po yung ina-award natin sa mga LGUs kapag nakakakuha sila ng SGLG award.
Congressman Kaloy.
Yes, Mr. Chair. No, maraming agencies yan, Mr. Chair. No? At in fact, isa sa pinakamalaki dyan, BJMP, na may unused appropriation. And for this year, ang laki ng increase sa BJMP. No? 9% ang increase ng budget nila. No? From 19.5 billion to 21.3 billion. So, isa sa pinakamalaking may increase na agency. So that is why I'm asking this dahil napakarami palang pondo na hindi nagagastos. At kahit na yung sinabi ni Secretary Anyo na for SGLP, no? Natutulog yung pondo na yan. And we know that in 2020 ay nananalasa na ang pandemya ng COVID, no? So kailangan itong 9 billion na ito in 2020 na unused appropriation ay ma-account nila, and we will request that they submit a report at maging basis natin, Mr. Chair, for the budget nila for next year, no? Dahil ang dami nilang pondong hindi pa nagagastos, no? And kailangang i-prioritize natin yung COVID-19 intervention. So may I just get a commitment that they will submit a report, detailed report on this unused appropriation, Mr. Chair, as I presented in my slide. May we get that commitment, Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Congressman Kaloy. Noted. Secretary Anyo, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will provide the report. Regarding the SGLG fund or the PCF fund of 1 billion, it is because of the pandemic kaya hindi nakapag-conduct ng audit at subsequent awarding, but I'm sure that money will go back to the coffers and will be used for the pandemic by the national government. Very important din kasi itong PCF to ensure good governance for our LGUs. But we take note and we will provide the report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Congressman Kaloy, they are positive about your request for the documents regarding...
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. 2 items na lang, Mr. Chair. Very important. No? Yes. Earlier, hindi ko na sana ito inatanong, but I'm just confused. No? Doon sa determination o kung sino yung barangay na makakatanggap ng pondo mula sa NTF-LCAP, yung 20 million. Kasi ang binanggit ni Secretary Anyo, ito yung mga barangay na nasa malalayong lugar or even mga ancestral domain ng mga indigenous peoples. But in this year's, in fact, the submissions that they made sa implementation itong Barangay Development Fund, Mr. Chair, and I read a report, nagtataka ako bakit merong mga barangay sa Iloilo City, for example. No? Iloilo City mismo, hindi naman ito malalayong lugar, na kabahagi nung binigyan nila ng 20 million. There was even one barangay there, the richest barangay in Iloilo City, no? Barangay Ingore, no? Na maraming mga big business doon, also receives a 20 million. And in interview ng mga local media, yung barangay captain doon, he was even surprised. Bakit meron sila? Of course, tatanggapin niya yun dahil it's a windfall na 20 million. So again, I'm questioning the yung basihan, no? Napaka parang arbitrary nung determination of who gets 20 million from among these barangays, Mr. Chair. That's the first point that I want the DILG to respond to. Second, earlier also Chief Eliazar mentioned na between June of 2020 and now 2021, no, merong nadagdag doon sa mga figures na nabanggit nila na namatay, no, mga nanlaban during a drug war operation. The deaths now umabot na sa 6,165. I got the figure correct. My question now, out of these 6,165 deaths, no, during police operations in the campaign against drugs, ilan po dito ang under your protocol, no? Standard operating procedure, ang sinubmit ninyo for inquest proceedings? Because nandyan po yan sa standard operating procedure ng PNP that all operations na merong namatay ay kailangang magkaroon ng inquest proceedings, Mr. Chair. Those are the two items na hihingan po natin ng responde mula sa kanila, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Kongkaloy. They will be answering the two questions, but we will move on to the next questioning. Next Congressman to question the DILG. So that was your last question. So please await the reply of the good secretary and the good PNP chief.
Can we get the reply now? Kahit short lang, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the question of the good Congressman Zarate, there are instances that there are big barangays and the center of the barangays are urbanized, but the sitios, the purok are the ones affected. And this happens based, of course, on the validation of the security forces and the LGUs. So, maaari pong sabihin na maunlad yung barangay na to, pero yung kalayo-layuan yung mga sitio at purok ang nangangailangan ng development interventions. So, titingnan po natin yung mga barangay na sinasabi at i-assess po natin mabuti. But lahat po ito ay dumaan sa validation process. At sisiguraduhin natin na walang masasayang na pondo. The second question will be answered by the Chief PNP.
Chief PNP, you're now recognized.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, regarding the operations that resulted in the death of the suspects, we are correcting that policy. In fact, we have through the Internal Affairs Service, we have coordinated with the OJ that in these cases, we don't have to every operation that resulted in the death of the suspect, as long as the presumption of regularity is there, we don't have to inquest our police personnel. But automatically, our Intel Affairs Service in motu proprio are conducting investigation regarding this. And if there are semblance of or lapses or any complaint or allegation, and that's the time that with the evidence on hand, both for criminal and administrative investigation, so cases appropriately could be filed against any of the operating units.
Pahabol na lang, Mr. Chair, may we know kailan pinalitan itong policy na ito? Because that is a good policy. No? At in fact, I pointed that out. That's a good policy, but hindi sinusunod ng PNP since 2016. No? In fact, between 2016 up to 2019, I think, only 500 plus were subjected to inquest. And that's why they committed that they will follow that policy. And now, sinasabi nila, pinalitan na lang namin kasi hindi namin kayang sundin eh. I think that is escaping accountability, Mr. Chair. No? Parang talagang dapat lang yun pag mayroong namatay dyan, ay hindi pwedeng sabihin na lang kaagad na dahil ng laban.
We have to speed up the hearing because the SWD budget group is already here. So we will give a reply to that question. And then we move on to Congresswoman Franz Castro for her 2 minutes.
Yes.
So go ahead, General.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So actually kasi sir, mga pinanggalingan kasi niyan, yung ginagaya natin, yung sa Amerika, pero iba naman yung sistema nila, the district attorney, iba naman po yung role ng ating mga prosecutor. That is why, if that is the policy that was made by the PNP internally, so we have also, we can always change that policy or practice. Anyway, our personnel are accountable to what we do, and we are open for any investigation, just like we are conducting investigation on this, aside from any other investigation that could be initiated by other agencies.
Thank you, Kong Kaloy. We will now recognize Congresswoman Castro for your 2 minutes.
Mr. Chair, ano na lang, request for documents.
Oh, yes.
Request for documents na lang.
May you please mention the documents required, Congresswoman Kaloy?
I'm requesting this for all agencies, no?
Yes.
Dahil hindi nga natin nakita ito sa budget books. Savings ng agency, no, ng DILG and all the other attached agency savings from 2016 up to 2020, if they generated savings, and if they did, saan nila ginamit yung savings, saan nila inaugment nila na PAP, and kung wala naman, saan napunta yung savings. And finally, procurement, no? Although nabanggit na ito kanina, may mga procurement sa PITC and DBMPS, they already stopped it, but I just want to know, for the information of this representation in the committee, ano pa yung ibang procurement na kinare of nila sa PITC and PSDBM in the past years, no, from 2016 up to 2020. Those are only the documents na ni-request ko sa kanila. Maraming
Thank
salamat.
you, Congressman Caloy. Please comply to all the requests of Congressman Caloy Zarat. May I now call Congresswoman Castro for your 2 minutes. Congresswoman Franz Castro, you're now recognized. May we move first to Congresswoman.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank
2
you
minutes.
po. Ay kasi hindi po ako minumute. Naka-unmute po pa rin po ako. Anyway, ituloy ko lang po yung Mr. Chair, yung tungkol doon sa sinasabi nating violation of human rights. Tungkol doon sa pagpipresenta ng mga suspected na suspect sa media. So tatanong ko lang po kay PNP Chief Eliazar, Mr. Chair, kung ito po bang PNP circular at 2018 PNP Human Rights Affair Advisory entitled Prohibition of Media Presentation of Suspects ay pinapatupad pa rin.
Chief PNP are now recognized.
Yes, sir. Pinapatupad po. Pero kung may warrant of arrest at lalo kung kasama sa most wanted person, pwede po natin i-present. In fact, meron po tayong mga, di ba nilalagay na most wanted person, meron mga mukha pa nga yun po yun at meron pang mga amount. Kasi nga, may mga cases na na-file sa kanila. Pero kung wala
Yun
po
nga,
tayo
Mr. Chair, yun nga yung tinatanong ko Hindi naman ito most wanted. Hindi naman most wanted yung sinasabi nating teacher. In fact nga, yung kaso na kinaso ninyo ay dinismiss na. Okay? So, hindi po totoo yan na yung sinasabi nyong most wanted, nilalagay nyo lang, kahit nga ako di ba nilalagay nyo rin po kami sa yung Makabayan Block doon sa mga tarpaulin na ng mga NTF-ELCAC. Kaya Mr. Chair, nagde-demand po ako ng investigation dito sa ginawa nilang pagpipresenta ng isang teacher namin sa Butuan City na dinismiss yung kaso dahil nga sa mga perjured na mga affidavit nung mga ginamit nila sa teacher na to. Nagde-demand po ako ng investigation dito sa PNP, Mr. Chair, at makuha ko po yung investigation result bago po mag-plenary session, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congresswoman Franz. Chief PNP, please reply to
Mr.
our request.
Chair, I'll just refer to the report of the Regional Director of Police Major Office 13. If we are talking about Rosanilla Veronilla Consad, also known as Lai, if we are talking to this person, then based on the official report, the arrested person is among the most wanted person on their list and was arrested for the crime of frustrated murder, docketed under criminal case number T197 with recommended bail of 36,000 pesos.
Yan po ay dinismiss na po dun sa prosecutor's office pa lang po, Mr. Chair. Just check na lang po yung mga data natin, Mr. Chair, tungkol dyan. And in generally, Mr. Chair, dapat yung ating mga suspect pa lang ay hindi ito pinaparada kasi kayo mismo nagbo-violate kayo doon sa inyong sariling guidelines. Yet nag-aano po kayo ng dagdag na budget sa Kongreso, pero human rights violations, ang dami yung mga records ng human rights violation, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, pangalawa na lang po, last na po ito.
Yes, your final question.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Kasi sinabi kanina ni Secretary Anyo na i-extend po yung paggamit ng ng pondo ng NTF-ELCAC for 2021 due to DBM Circular number 135. So, ano po ang authorization para ma-extend to 2022 etong NTFL CAC 19 billion na to, Mr. Chair? Meron ba silang authorization from the Congress na ito i-extend hanggang 2022?
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Franz. The good secretary will now answer your inquiry.
Thank you po, Mr. Chair. Yun naman po ang nakalagay doon. Ang validity po niya ay 2 years. Kaya sinasabi natin na yung project for 822 barangays ay kaya nating tapusin. At impact po ay 99% naman po ay na-obligate na at undergoing different phases of the procurement while 147 are already being implemented, Mr. Chair.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Chair,
Secretary.
follow-up lang po, Mr. Chair. Magbigay po ng dokumento ang DILG doon sa extension na yun, kung meron po. Kasi as far as the Congress is concerned, wala po tayong ino-authorize ng 2021 budget na extend ng 2022. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. That will be the last. Secretary has given his nod to your request. I will be relinquishing the chair to the good Congresswoman Quaresma.
Yes, thank you very much, Vice Chair Reyes. Now, may the chair now recognize the Honorable Bonito Singson.
Thank you.
Representative Bonito Singson is recognized by the chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. My question, my first question to the Chief PNP maybe is how many PNP, how strong is the PNP in terms of the numbers of organic members?
May we get an answer from the
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, as of June 30, 2021, 206,427, Madam Chair.
206,000. Madam Chair, of this total number, how many are assigned as as executive security for VIPs and or diplomatic personnel?
Madam Chair, we're checking those who are assigned with the PSPG, the unit in charge in providing security detail to approve to the VIPs.
My follow-up question, Madam Chair, for this is how much is this costing the PNP relative to what we're discussing now, their budget? Because we've noticed that there are a lot of PNP personnel that are acting as security guards of not well VIPs, but as we all know, even to so-called pogos and other, even some known criminal characters. Are these being accounted for, or because because these security guards are very blatant in displaying their firearms, and sometimes are not in uniform, sometimes they're in uniform. Right, Madam Chair, I cannot hear, Madam Chair. I'm sorry. The reply of Chief PNP.
Can you hear us, Kong Bonito Singzon? Nawala na rin siya.
Oh, now I can hear, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Yes, yes,
So,
Madam Chair.
Okay.
Ulitin ko
please
po,
go ahead.
ang ating pong PSPG has a total of 2,362 personnel assigned in them. Hindi naman po lahat yun nakadetail sa mga VIPs, pero this National Support Unit ay ito po yung nagpo-provide. Dito sila lang authorized mag-provide ng mga security based on the parameters dun sa mga parameters nung mga nagre-request po for security.
And Madam Chair, is this all of these persons being assigned to as securities are approved by the Chief PNP? Or how are they vetted?
Yes, Madam Chair. Meron po tayo mga threat assessment na kinukonsider at meron pong mga parameters regarding this. Bago po ma-approve ang request for security detail.
Okay. For the security, aside from any, we know that for certain personnel or people, providing security is either as required by law, kung order ng korte yan or ano. But yung request, yung parameter, ang obserbasyon kasi pati mga yun na nga no, nasabi pati mga pogo, so-called pogo, merong mga security na nakaarmado, kuminsan naka-uniforme, kuminsan hindi, pero very obvious po yung mga firearms nila.
Pati ba pogo?
Yes. Madam Chair, hindi po. Baka po mga unauthorized yun at bawal po yun. So we will check on that. And those personnel involved in an authorized security detail, pwede po maimbestigahan at makasuhan.
So nakikita naman ng publiko po yan eh. Kung minsan, no, when you go around, you see obviously foreigners, tapos may nakadikit sa kanila na with bulging, with their firearms bulging by their waistlines. No?
Kindly look into that, Chief PNP. Mukhang it's unfair. Kung ako nga, wala man lang akong security.
Opo. Tapos and then in all of this, the Philippine government, the public is bearing the cost of maintaining these people. No? But we know that meron rin mga private security. No? Pero I know for a fact that there are policemen that are acting as private security.
Paki-check na lang po yun.
Yes, Madam Chair, we will check on that. At pag may nakita po tayo in violation of our protocol, kakasuhan po natin.
Yes, please. Thank you. Kung Bonito,
Yeah, on my second question,
already your 2 minutes.
yeah,
One more question.
yes. So far as the BJMP is concerned, Madam Chair, no, may I inquire on how are we feeding our mga prisoners, and how much is the cost per head, and what is the budget for the entire obviously, di ba, when we detain mga naka-carsel natin, mga naka-preso, pinapakain
How much now is the daily allowance? Food allowance. 70 pesos per inmate.
per inmate. Okay, and this is included in their budget, Madam Chair?
I believe so, Congressman Bonito.
Okay. So far, how big is this allocated budget for the allowance of prisoners, which the question needs to be asked, how many prisoners do we have or inmates do we have all over the Philippines?
Okay, how many inmates do we have all over? Do you have the data?
As far as I know, Mr.
Yes,
Chair, there are about
Secretary, please.
182,000 PDLs. 182,000 PDLs all over the country.
Time is 70 pesos per meal or per day?
182 PDLs with 70 pesos per day subsistence and 50
that's food
pesos for
subsistence.
medicines.
Mm.
And that already include medicines?
15 pesos po, ma'am.
But that's for daily consumption already. So it's
Yes,
like,
madam.
if it's 70 plus 15, so it's 85.
Yes, Madam Chair.
5 pesos. Okay. Okay. Well, anyway, I'll discuss that in another hearing, Madam Chair. No, but how? What is the ideal ratio, Madam Chair, for per square meter per person per inmate or per square meter?
Okay, supposedly what's the
Yeah.
ratio?
So that maybe Congress can act on because the report is that there is an overcrowding of our prisons, no?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I will request the Chief BJMP because that's too technical. May I request the Chief BJMP to go on board, and I request the Secretariat to unmute the Chief BJMP, Jail Director Arab Iran.
Okay, so
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
okay, go
Yes,
ahead.
Mr. Chair, good afternoon. Magandang hapon po, Congressman Singson, sir. Ang ideal po na cell area per PDL is 4.7 square meters per PDL. Yun po yung ideal na kinuha po natin yan, pinagbasehan natin yung building code natin sa Pilipinas na ang isang tao ay dapat magkaroon ng 14 cubic content of air. So yung 4.7, tama lang po yan sa bawat isang tao. Now ngayon, maraming nagtatanong sa amin, bakit nakakulong naman yan, bakit bigyan siya ng 4.7? Kasi po naman, Mr. Chair, ito po ay they are still presumed innocent until proven guilty. At saka po yan, na po yan sa UN standard minimum rules for the treatment of persons deprived of liberty. So,
thank you, Mr. Chair. No?
Okay, so I think that's your last question.
Last two questions, if I may, no? Kasi hindi naman ako nagpa-extend.
So we are in a hurry. There's still one more.
Last two questions. Now, so what is the actual? The ideal is 4.7 per square meters per. What is the actual that you have based on your data?
Currently ngayon, Mr. Chair, para maipaliwanag ko yan, para maintindihan ng mga nakikinig sa atin, ang actual po ay 401% congested tayo. So ibig sabihin, sa 4.7, merong 4 na dagdag na PDL. So nagiging 5 lahat sila. At yun po, Mr. Chair, ang pinakasimpleng paliwanag doon sa congestion rate natin na 401%.
Thank you, sir, on that. So this means that we need to build more prisons. And have you ever entertained the idea of privatizing our prison system?
Ginawa na po namin yan, Mr. Chair, noon pa. Kaya lang maraming mga opposition po na bakit ipa-privatize yung mga jail facilities. We propose that.
Kasi pwede naman po sir, pwede natin gawin na non-violent at saka yung violent, paghiwalayin, di ba? Para yung mga non-violent, pwedeng i-privatize and make them productive. Do you have any productive activities for our inmates? Like for example, what we know of before and in the movies, no? Gumagawa sila ng mga plate number or kung ano yung private, yung mga productive activities that can, instead of them just languishing in prison. Do you have any productive activities being conducted currently?
Meron po, Mr. Chair. Lahat po ng mga kulungan natin, in-encourage natin ang ating mga wardens na magawa ng mga livelihood programs para sa ating mga PDLs. So, may hollow block making, meron dyan carpentry. Ngayon, December, Mr. Chair, gumagawa ng mga parol. So, may painting.
Yes, sir. So, yeah,
so anyway, I think you had already consumed your time, Pang Bonito. Thank you very much, and thank you also to the BPM.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
The next to be recognized is the Honorable Bong Suntay.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Secretary Anyo, andito ba yung ating BJM, Bureau of Fire? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Either si Secretary Anyo or yung ating Chief ng Bureau of Fire. May I know how much was how much did we allocate for fire equipment for for 2022, specifically for the purchase of fire trucks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to refer this to Chief Superintendent Louis Puracan.
Okay, you're
Mr. Chair,
recognized.
the proposed budget for calendar 2022, we proposed for 104 fire trucks procurement for fiscal year 2022.
Okay, thank you very much, Fire Chief. Purakaw. Now, for this 104 fire trucks, how is it allocated? Because, last year I asked the same question because I was requesting that that my district in Quezon City be allocated a fire truck because I have 4 fire stations in my district, and ang pinakabago naming fire truck doon sa district ko coming from the Bureau of Fire is from around 20 years old already. And given the population and the development in my district, kailangan namin kasi ng fire truck. While I can make initiatives for the construction of better fire stations, ang problema ko talaga yung fire truck. Unlike kasi now hindi ko magawa I remember when Vice Chairman Reyes was a councilor in Quezon City, he could use his funds to purchase fire trucks. Ngayon hindi ko magawa dito sa Congress So I am now at the mercy of the Bureau of Fire to see how you allocate it, and so I have the same question because last year I requested that I be allocated kahit isang fire truck lang kahit paano may bago kami.
Oo, it's 20 years. Mukhang na yan.
Our first consideration.
So kindly take note of that para we can already end with I think that's the only question that
Yes.
Congressman Bong
I think si Fire Chief is ready to answer now. Madam Chair.
Mr. Chair, the primary consideration in the distribution of fire trucks is based on the provision of the law that there must be at least 1 fire station with fire truck in every municipality. At present, we still have more than 200 municipalities without fire station and fire trucks. So our priority is for those municipalities without firefighting capabilities. However, there were instances that because of the population density, that is also given priority.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there are municipalities without a fire station.
Yes, sir.
So kahit bigyan nyo sila ng fire truck, walang paglalagyan yung fire truck. Why not allocate a new one in my district and I will give you my 20-year-old one? And then pwede nyo padala dun sa municipality na walang fire station.
We will look into that, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, kindly please take note. This is the second year that I've requested, and and I don't want it to be the second year na hindi kami mapakinggan.
Yung mga may fire
Noted,
truck, may fire station, yun yung bigyan mo ng fire truck. Yung mga luma, yun bigyan mo sa mga walang fire station. Kasi naiinitan lang yan. No?
Noted, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so
may I add, Madam
yes,
Chair?
Secretary.
Yes, our objective is to provide all municipalities with a fire truck and a fire station. But over the years po ay hindi na-deliver. Kaya ang nangyari po, gano'n nga, may isang municipality, may fire truck sa pero walang fire station. Meron din may fire station sa pero wala namang fire truck. Actually po, I remember last year, we proposed to the President to one time, big time po na bumili tayo na lahat ng fire truck para all municipalities will have, and then mag-replete tayo ng mga 20 years older. It would cost about 9 billion. Medyo hindi po kaya because our budget is only given about, for this year is about only 1.5 billion to procure the 100 for fire trucks. But we are requesting the DBM to provide us the additional allocation from the fire code piece, an additional of about 500 million, so we can procure more. With the Bureau of Fire Protection's Modernization Act, Madam Chair, I think mas procure pa tayo ng mas marami, and we'll make sure, Congressman Bongson-Tay, that we will look into your predicament now,
O
Madam
kasi
Chair.
nga, Secretary, siguro it's a case-to-case basis. Like for example, here in Manila, at times they don't need if they the meeting of the committee is suspended. And thank you again, Secretary.
Maraming
Let's see each
salamat
other,
po,
ha?
Madam Chair.
Siguro, mag-usap tayo before the plenary. Ano?
Yes, opo,
Okay.
Madam Chair. Maraming
Yeah.
salamat.
Thank you.